Hello, Wargamers. Exciting news today. The Tidewall Rampart rules were released. Now, if you're not familiar with the Tidewall, that's the new piece of Tau terrain that's coming out with the upcoming codex. So today I want to talk about those rules and how you might see the Tidewall used in the future. So we'll kind of go through the rules step by step and talk about that, and then end on some general first impressions. But of course, with all these first impression videos, the rules for the unit itself might not change. Probably won't change between now and when the actual codex releases, but how it interacts with all sorts of other rules and other units might change, and so keep that in mind. The actual use of the Tidewall Rampart might be a little bit different once we know what the rest of the codex has, and so you should check back on my channel for reviews post-codex release, and a great way to do that is to subscribe, of course, so go ahead and do that. But yeah, so let's get on with the review. So Tidewall Rampart, 265 points, not a small chunk of change there, both in terms of points or money, if you've seen that it costs like $160 or something like that. But yeah, comes with 2 Tidewall shield lines, gun rig, and a drone port. Right away, that raises one question for me, and that is, if you look at the actual kit that's released, what is that third circle? So you got the gun rig, which obviously has the giant gun on it, later to be revealed as a twin-linked railgun. It has a drone port, which is the circle thing with drones on it. It has the 2 shield lines, which are the lines, and then it has this third circle thing, and that's not listed in the rules or in the product description. The product description, if you go to the GW website, says that it contains a gun rig, a drone port, and 2 shield lines. It doesn't address what this third circle thing is, so I don't know what to do with that. But because it's not a shield line, because it explicitly says that it has 2 shield lines, which are obviously the line things, not the circle thing. And then it comes with the drone port, which has drones, and the gun rig, which has a gun. And this third circle thing has none of those characteristics. So I don't know what that is. I'm assuming you just use it as part of the shield line, but that seems like you're fudging the numbers a little bit there. But yeah, so that's a question. Moving on though, when you set up the Tidewall Rampart, all of the shield lines must be connected to at least one other shield line or platform. If separate, gun rigs and drone ports must be set up within 6 inches of one of the shield lines. So basically, the shield lines have to be connected, but you can put your circle spots all around that, just as long as they're within 6 inches of one of the shield lines. The drone parts, drone ports, shield lines, and gun rig are battlefield debris defense line. The attached gun battery is a gun emplacement. So that means, of course, that they get a 4-up cover save when behind the Tidewall, and that can be increased to a 2-up if they go to ground. Additionally, the actual gun emplacement is toughness 7, 2 wounds, 3-up save. So pretty easy to kill if you wanted to, compared to anything else that would have a railgun, namely a hammerhead. So it's a lot easier to kill this gun, but you get all these awesome special rules that we'll get to in a second. So keep that in mind. Weapons. The gun rig battery is a twin-linked railgun that can fire a solid shot and a submunition shot. As with previous codices, it seems that the railgun in this codex has a solid shot and a submunition shot. So that's staying the same. The Tidewall drone port has 4 drones chosen in any combination from the following list: gun drone, marker drone, or shield drone. The special rules are many. So the first one is mobile defense position. If you take a Tidewall Rampart as part of your army, you may move it up to 6 inches in the movement phase. It cannot move if there are any enemy models on it, and may only carry friendly units if all members of those units are on the Rampart. Models carried with it are treated as being stationary for the purposes of firing weapons. This includes the gun rig, but cannot move themselves in the same phase. A rampart can only move over open ground and cannot move within 1 inch of enemy models. If you wish to move the rampart, then it must finish the move in the same configuration as it started. So you can't, disconnect it to move around things or anything. It has to move as one thing. Special rule field network. Roll a dice each time a successful cover save is made for a model on the gun rig or drone port if one of the shield lines barriers is between the attacker and the target. This special rule is also the same as the Tidewall field, basically. And so every time the cover save is made successfully, on a roll, you roll a die, and on a roll of 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 randomly allocated wound or glancing hit, result at the same AP as the attacking weapon. This is a big draw for this, so we'll talk about that in a moment. Firebase, re-roll to hit rolls of 1 for shooting attacks made by models with the Tau Empire faction that are on the Tidewall Rampart, also appealing. Telemetry relay. In the shooting phase, 1 model with the Tau Empire faction that is on a Tidewall drone port can upload telemetry data for an enemy unit within its line of sight instead of shooting. If it does so, a model firing a Tidewall gun rig in the same rampart against that enemy unit adds 1 to its ballistic skill and gains Tank Hunter and Monster Hunter special rules until the end of the phase. The gun rig has the special rule identification protocols. Tidewall twin-linked railgun may only be fired by models with the Tau Empire faction that are on the Tidewall gun rig defense platform the railgun is attached to. The shield line has, again, that field where it basically applies to any unit within 1 inch of the shield line, so long as the barrier is between the attacker and the target. Noticeably, it doesn't specify that it has to be covering any portion of the model, so it doesn't have to be like a quarter covered. Just as long as it's in between the two, you gain this special rule. Tidewall drone port has the drone control system. Drones start the game attached to the drone port. They cannot perform any actions or be attacked while they remain attached. If the platform is occupied by a model with the Empire faction, then drones can be activated at the start of the occupying model's movement phase. When activated, drones immediately detach themselves from the platform in the same manner as drones detaching from a vehicle. They're treated as part of the army that activated them for the rest of the battle, even if the platform is later abandoned. So, basically just like drones in any other vehicle, although this is drones on terrain at this point. It's important to note, too, that they are specifying army, so that it's the same thing that we're used to, right? The drones that are part of a vehicle detach and form their own unit. These guys do not form a unit with the defense line, and they do not form a unit with any of the units that are occupying the defense line. They are their own unit, presumably, unless that changes in the new codex. Options may include any number of additional Tidewall shield lines for 60 points each. So you could have a whole army of shield lines if you wanted to. May include 1 additional drone port for 60 points, and may include 1 additional gun rig for 85 points. So here's the deal. We'll talk about those options first, right? It comes with 2 shield lines, and so you are almost, So you're adding another 50% points to add 2 more shield lines to it if you wanted to have 4. That's not a bad thing, especially if you have larger units, because you do have to have the entire unit on the shield line in order to move it. So having more shield lines if you have larger units might be necessary. Additional Tidewall drone port? No. Additional Tidewall gun rig? No. The reason for that is the drones really seem more of a fluff piece. I don't see any reason why you would spend 60 points for 4 drones when you could do that in a other way, just by taking drones or something like that. You do have the benefit of having a larger space to put larger models. So if you wanted to have broadsides or something sitting in that drone port, you could. It also gives you better access to doing the telemetry relay stuff. So you could do that. But I don't really see it being worth 60 points. The gun rig is cool. It's a nice thing to have with you, but at toughness 7 with only 2 wounds, I don't expect that railgun will be long for this world. So especially with the nice little tank hunter, monster hunter rules and 1 to ballistic skill, which generally would make it ballistic skill 4, but if you have someone like a Fireblade or something, it could be different, or a commander. But yeah, so I would, if you're going to invest in any of those options, I would go with more shield lines, not either the drone port or the gun rig. But aside from that, what are my general impressions? Well, for 265 points, that's not a small amount, but it could really make Fire Warriors effective, a lot more effective than they were in the past, right? So consider you take a unit of Fire Warriors, throw them on a Tidewall. Unless, for the sake of simplicity, let's assume they have pulse rifles, and pulse rifles have not changed. You put them on this gun rig, or on the shield wall, and they get to re-roll 1s. If you have an ethereal in there with them, they can use the Storm of Fire special rule. Or if you have a Fireblade with them, they get another shot as well. So you're potentially just pumping out tons of Strength 5 shots. Then you get to reroll your 1s. So if they're normally hitting on 4s, you're adding another 1 to that. So it's basically that they're going to be hitting 2/3 of their shots, because they're only missing on 2s and 3s. So that's awesome. Well, actually, the math is a little bit different than that. Sorry, but yeah, you still are re-rolling 1s for that number of shots. It's going to add up. And then the really cheeky thing about this, right, is the shield network special rule, where if you have a bunch of dudes sitting on this Tidewall, then someone drops a template on them, or just shoots at them a bunch, they're a 6 of those shots are going to come back and hit the firing unit in the face. And so really, the Tidewall is meant to be used with lots of dudes on it, not necessarily having like broadsides on it. You wouldn't really want to put broadsides on this, because they're not really going to benefit from any of the special rules. They're not going to, they already are twin linked, and they aren't really going to be using the cover save that often. But when they do, all right, they shoot at a unit of 3 broadsides, you only have a 0.5 chance of, well, a 1 in 6 chance for 3 models means you'll get half of a wound taken back, assuming you make all your cover saves or whatever. So it's really not going to benefit units like broadsides. It's meant for units like Fire Warriors or Kroot. This is really, actually Kroot would be great on this, because they need that cover save, and this would make them all that much better. Whereas Fire Warriors, they already have the range, potentially with the rifle, and their armor save is just as good as the 4-up. So yeah, put Kroot on this thing. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I like that idea. Put a bunch of crude on this. That'd be neat. But yeah, so for 265 points, it can make some of your units a lot more effective. And so I'm not sure if it's worth it for that. The railgun does help. And yeah, with regards to the railgun, it is cool that even if your rampart gets taken over by an enemy, they can't fire the railgun. It's only accessible to you unless they are Tau. If you're playing against other Tau, then they can steal your railgun and shoot you in the face with it. But if you're playing anyone else, they can't. So that's nice. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think for 265 points, it's a lot. Right now it's sold out online. I don't know if that's going to change or if we're going through the whole void shield generator thing again. But with regards to the model itself, it's really not that sophisticated. I was a little bit let down by it. Really, the biggest appeal of it is the gun emplacement, which is pretty cool, and then the actual blue inserts for the energy field are nice. Those are things that I would have more difficulty making on my own. But the actual shield line itself, I feel like you can make this pretty easily with like drone tops and plastic card and maybe like some orange juice bottle caps or something for the pylons in the middle. And then of course you can make the big circle things out of foam for a lot less than $160. So, you know, if it is sold out, it's not the end of the world by any means. You can definitely make one yourself, I think. So, yeah, that's kind of my first impressions. If you want to sum it up, it's yeah, it could be good. It could also be a big waste of points. We'll see what the codex looks like. You know, the point economy of the codex might be pretty tight. It might be really competitive, but it also might not be. So we'll see. And that's not even talking about any type of formations that this might be in. So yeah, cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Like I said at the beginning of the video, stay subscribed to keep up to date with my continuing coverage of the new Tau Codex release. And as always, happy wargaming.